Star players and role players, they all play a part in the Jacksonville Jaguars being 9-4. And I'll tell you why on this episode.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is, in fact, your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. Locked On Jaguars is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is a part of the #1 sports podcast network. And we're glad to have you join us. Shout out to the everydayers who tune in each and every day here on Locked On Jaguars. They tune in wherever they get their podcast. Whether they watch or listen, they are always there, making sure that they do not miss an episode like the one that you're not missing right now that is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. All right, Jags sit at 9-4 atop the AFC South with a lot of good things to look forward to. But I'll tell you how they got to this point. Role players can be stars. That's what we're going to talk about in the first segment. Right in the middle of the show, stars got to be stars. We'll make sure we go over that because that's what makes all of this possible, and why coaching helps blend the two together is how we'll close the show. I'm going to remind you, too, that tomorrow we're going to really dive into the playoff picture of the AFC. I know y'all probably want to do it today, but we ain't going to do it today. We're going to do that tomorrow, and that'll give you something to look forward to. But right now, we're going to start talking about the role players and how the role players can be stars. There's always so much attention paid to the guys that make a lot of money. And I know there are instances where sometimes when you do this job, and then sometimes, especially with social media, when you interact with fans, it seems like people think the money part comes first, and then the expected production comes after that. With rookies, yeah. And that's not even the big money, but with rookies, yeah, the rookies get a lot of guaranteed money, especially first-round picks, especially guys that are chosen high, and then the expectations come along with that. Well, that's because that's easy scouting, right? You get first pick because those guys are there for a reason, and you think that they give you a glimpse into what the probability is. That's what the word prospect is, the probability that they'll turn out to be certain ways. But in free agency, the reason why free agents make a lot of money is because you got to look-see. You've already seen it. It's like somebody you playing poker, and they're already telling you what that card is on the turn, and you got an idea of what it is. So you'll risk more money with that, right? The money doesn't come first. What happens is the body of work for a draft pick is what gets them in a position to make the money. The body of work is a sneak peek into what they might be able to do under different circumstances, which is the NFL. And like I just said, in free agency, you kind of know what you're buying because you've seen it in action, and you know exactly what you're specifically going to get. But that's not the way this is done. The way this is done is you really have to get guys that produce. The guys that you pay a lot, they have to produce up to a certain point. I mean, you want to exceed that. Obviously, if you get an edge rusher, you want to be Myles Garrett, but there haven't been very many Myles Garretts. And you get a passer, you want it to be Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, and there haven't been that many of those guys either. But what happens is you need maximum production from the people that you pay, because it's a little bit more of a crapshoot for the people who you don't, the role players, the guys that fill in. Many times they don't get the credit that they deserve. Most of the times when they're not getting the credit that they deserve is when the team is bad. And fans and media alike, because of expectation, will say the star needs help. We need to get in more of this. We need to get in more of that. Saw it live in person in the NBA with LeBron for a long time. Two things can be true at once. He probably did need more help. There's probably also some things that he needed to do, and he later admitted that after he went back to Cleveland. I brought that up and referenced that yesterday because two things can be true at one time. And many times in this industry, we focus on one thing at a time. Remember a couple of years ago at the end of the season, and everybody I know it was jokes, but all people wanted to talk about is they need a center. Draft a center in the first round, draft another in the second round, draft another in the third round. And I said, that's not the only problem with this team. And then it became, we need to get rid of Press Taylor. And I said, that's not the only problem with this team. Please, let's not give people an escape route by giving them somebody to totally point. And this is when it was another administration that mastered in pointing the finger at other things instead of looking at themselves. And I was like, no, y'all, we got to go harder than that. Got to go harder than that. It's bigger. It's bigger. It's bigger. And granted, did I know personally from sitting in my office how to fix and repair everything? No, I'm paid to sound like I do, but I'm also paid to be honest. No, I didn't know. And a lot of times we thought this entire roster absolutely sucked. Now you got guys like Cole Van Lanen, who Trent Baalke traded, I think, a 6th-round pick for, to a conditional pick to, I believe they acquired him from Green Bay at the end of the preseason because Green Bay had a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of linemen, and he was a good player. And then they got Ezra Cleveland for a 6th-rounder. And then they traded a 4th round and some change that people thought was too much for Jacoby Myers. They got Jarian Jones in the 3rd round, and fans just thought he was just another guy after the first year. And Devon Hamilton, people have been trying to get rid of him since he got sick and then got himself back, and then it took him a while to get back. Those are 3 role players that have been pivotal and very critical to the Jaguars making this run that they're making. And they're not making a lot of money, a whole bunch of money. Well, Devon Hamilton kind of is, but not on the pantheon of when you talk about the stars of the team. They're not making that much money. But sometimes they have often been the target of they need to improve this or they need to improve that because people want to make excuses for the guy next to him, not Josh Allen so much, but Eric Armstead, and even he is playing better. We want to make excuses for why the other people aren't playing well, as opposed to talking about the fact that those people aren't playing well. Maybe, just maybe, I have a theory. The theory is this. When those guys aren't playing well, you turn to look to the role players to probably do a little bit more than the job description, to play above the X's and O's. And that's what all players are supposed to do, hopefully. But here's the difference. It should be extra. It should not be to make up for what's not going on with the star. So that's why I want to focus on the star. I want to focus on Trevor Lawrence, and I want to focus on Brian Thomas Jr., and I want to focus on Josh Allen. Mainly Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen, because they are playing like superstars. And what happened the second that those guys flipped the switch and started playing like superstars? You notice that the role players started playing like star role players, like a great character actor. When you watch a movie, the guy might not be a star, or you watch a TV series, but it's a dude that just pops in every now and then, and he's a scene stealer. The Joe Pesci of the movies with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. Those 2 cops. Just a scene stealer, right? At any moment, anybody can be a scene stealer in the NFL, and the Jaguars have had a number of them. I'll tell you how they got there and why they got to be what they are. It has nothing to do with them actually getting better. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. You know what it has something to do with? It has every single thing to do with the stars playing like stars. I'll tell you what that means here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's why it's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. I love live betting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place as many bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment, right when the action happens. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, the receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Guy gets hurt, goes out of the game, doesn't look like he's going to come back. You can beat everybody to the punch with live betting. It helps you. And live spreads and money lines, they instantly adjust. So if you want to be right in the middle of action that you're watching on your TV, visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long. FanDuel.com and place those live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, man, we're moving and grooving here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen, man, joining us each and every day. I was talking about role players, saying how those role players they can have starring roles as role players. But nobody notices the role player if the star doesn't show up. I remember years ago when I used to go to movies quite often, I would go to the movies to see the stars. If there was a De Niro, Pacino, Denzel Washington, if it was Sean Connery, Kevin Costner for a while was there, Andy Garcia was definitely there. When I saw those movies, or I saw the director of a movie, I would often say, I'm going to see it. I'm going to the movies. What you going to see? That new movie with Andy Garcia, what's it called? I have no idea, but I'm going anyway. And that means that there's a certain amount of trust and a certain amount of expectation that comes with that star performing. And sometimes when you go, you'll find another star. Like I went to see Goodfellas in the movie years ago. I forgot what year it was, way back. I go to see the Goodfellas, and that's where I discovered Ray Liotta. And I became a big Ray Liotta fan. He was actually the star, but I was drawn because of Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, and because of who the director was. So I found all of these role players, but I went there to see the star, and the star delivered, right? Lately, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, and this past game, Brian Thomas Jr., the three people who were considered the best players on the team, not including Travis Hunter, who's a rookie, and Travis is banged up right now, but we needed those guys to play like stars, and none of them actually did early on. And a lot of the discussion was centered around they need help. With the exception of Brian Thomas Jr., we was saying that there was no penetration from the inside. So that's why the edge rushers couldn't get home. And then Trayvon was banged up. And then Trevor needed people to catch the ball. And one of the people they were talking about, the main culprit, was Brian Thomas Jr. And before that, it was the offensive line. And while some of that is definitely true, definitely is. I ain't going to deny that. It was true. People needed to support the stars a little bit better. But it doesn't mean that there weren't times that those stars needed to just play better. And I have been saying that all year long. And I think that people sort of think that it's low-hanging fruit when you say the star needs to be better. And sometimes it is with some folks. It's never that way with me. And I think some people think that it's easy to talk about the star playing better when you don't really want to take a deep dive and look and see what is actually wrong with the team, because it is very difficult to tell you that without being vague if you're not in the building understanding everything that's going on around the team all the time. And I don't mean in the building from a media perspective. I mean actually a part of the football team to know what is going on. I know a lot of us do this and we try to sound like we know everything. And I think that kind of lets people know that usually you don't know squat when you won't admit that you don't know everything. For instance, whatever you do every day in your house or your job, does anybody outside of your house know everything and why? The why that of all the things that they see you doing? No. So it is impossible for you to know the everything of what other people are doing each and every day. But you can still talk about what it is that you see. And what it is that I see with the Jaguars is I notice the role players more when the star players actually play better. Try that on for size. I can actually give more credit to the Cole Van Lanens, the Jarian Joneses, and the Devon Hamiltons of the world for the job that they're doing. And it happens to coincide with the stars leading the way and doing their job. Isn't that funny how it works? Maybe these guys were doing this the whole time, but we had a higher expectation because we weren't being delivered the expected thing by the star players for whatever reason. And now all of a sudden, we're looking for somebody to be Captain Saver, you know what? And we're asking people to do things, not that they're not paid to do, but that they're not expected to do reasonably every single week because nobody ever said that they were that good to carry a team, which is why they're not paid to carry a team, which goes back to say, well, who's paid to carry a team? And we point right back to the stars. It is never personal. It is always just about expectation. And now you got a coaching staff that has done two things. Told those guys to stay ready. Told those guys we need you. Parker Washington. All of them. Every single lineman in that top 7, top 8. Wyatt Milan. All of these. Danny Strigo. BJ Green. Ventrell Miller. Caused a fumble the other day. 2 rookie running backs. Bring Strange goes down in. We need the tight ends. The tight ends go down. Let's elevate Quentin Morris. And he's been a very good player. Physical. Does a lot of things you don't notice. Safeties go down. All right, Antonio Johnson, we need you. Steps in, plays well, does a good job. You notice it more, and you can point all of these guys out. It's easy for me to come on here and do a podcast about how well Trevor Lawrence is playing, how well. Welcome back, BT. I did that yesterday. Talk about how good Trayvon is. But today I'm going to focus on those other people. So now this will let folks know why I'm so hard on stars. Because when you lead, they follow. And it has nothing to do with where you were drafted. It has nothing to do with how much money you're making. But how much money you're making and where you were drafted are indicative of what the people expected. The people in the building, everybody looking at the game, they're like, okay, because they know it is very, very difficult for this team to get things out of people that don't have the physical capability and the talent that the star players have. That comes with the territory. And this is just a good time to not necessarily go, I told y'all, but what it is a time to say, this is a time for clarity and understanding as to why we do. We ask for everydayers. So I can't talk about thanking the everydayers each and every day without giving some guidelines. If you haven't been here and you're new here, hang in here, you'll catch on. Trust me. It's just that this is a time where we say, this is why we do what we do. This is why when some people get angry at me for talking about star players, this is why. This is my why, because I don't have an expectation that there are other people on this team that can do exactly what they can do at the level that they can do it. We need them to do it. And then I need those guys to do their job as best that they can do it. And then we'll give everybody credit. It's just not a coincidence that we are now noticing a lot of role players and their contributions to this team's success, and that it coincides with the star players actually being productive and playing well. It's amazing. I thought about it this morning. I was like, well, damn. I'm about to give these guys their props, but it lines right up with all of those other guys playing up to their potential. And the Jaguars are 9-4 because of it. You got to push this thing from every level, and that's what they're doing. Coaching helps blend the two things together. I'll tell you exactly why I feel that way in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Mint Mobile. That's right. You know, there's no reason to let big wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in 3, 6, or even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. It's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it the full Scrooge treatment. And what makes this even better is now Simple Mint makes the switch. How easy they make it. No contracts, no nonsense, just real savings and real quality service. Switching to Mint lets you keep your same coverage for a lower price. Turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required, $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees, initial plan term only. 35 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. All right, third final segment here of Locked On Jaguars. Gotta let y'all know about something, man. That's right. I'm always giving y'all new information. Thank you for making Locked On Jaguars and Locked On NFL your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast. You already live your team. Now, take it up a level and go free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Jaguars with no interruptions, members only, Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to, make sure you check the link in the show notes. That's what the link is in the show notes. Make sure you go to the URL that's in the show notes. And look, it is unbelievable. This is something that we're very, very proud of here. You'll get the same access here on Locked On Jaguars as you do every single day. But if you want some extra stuff, go to the Everydayer Club and make sure you copy the URL wherever you get your podcast. All right, listen, man. Coaching. How do you get guys to buy in? How do you let them know that every man up or the next man up is something that's real and not just coach speak? When so much attention is focused on the star players. You got to just do your job, man, and everybody has to buy in and feel like they're important and know that their number is going to come. And when their number comes, they don't have time to go and prepare for that number coming. They have to be ready. The issue is a lot of these dudes have been the star players throughout their entire high school and college career, and now you're asking them to be role players. The easiest thing to do is look out in the parking lot when you trim things down and see all the dudes dragging all of their stuff out and going back to their car and saying, you are one of 53. Jalen Rose once said that there are no scrubs in the NBA. I agree with him because you got people that sit behind microphones on TV and will call somebody a scrub. Do you know how hard it is to make it to the bench in the National Football League? It is hard to make it on a bench in the National Football League and in the NBA everywhere. It is very, very difficult. So nobody's a scrub. There's somebody that are extremely important. And many times those backup players have to stay ready because when they get an opportunity, it may be the only one that they have if they make a mistake. So it takes constant coaching to keep guys involved. What about a dude that has high expectations and he's not performing to those expectations and he starts beating up on himself because he's an ultra competitive person? It takes special people to make sure that you can get those guys in line, especially when those guys are veterans and you're a new staff, because it's going to be like, okay, I've heard it all before. And maybe they have trust issues. The only way you're going to make them trust is proof of concept, showing them that it works, outworking them, being there when they get there and being there when they leave. And this staff puts the time in, showing people that you care, showing people that you're honest, not sitting there thinking the worst about them, not sitting in a supervisory position like, well, I own you and you got to do what I say or I'm going to get rid of your contract or threatening people that are going to be pumping gas if you get cut and all of this crap. All of that stuff, none of that stuff works in the NFL because you got grown people with mortgages and families and financial advisors. Man, you got to come with something else. Work, honesty, real coaching, and then tangible results. And once you started getting those things and saying stuff like, we ain't apologizing for no wins around here, it resonates with people. When you tell other people, keep their name out of your mouth. And when somebody asks you about, like, I think it was Mike DeRocco asked Liam the other day about respect. He said, it ain't coming. We ain't worried about it. You know it's not going to come. Doesn't come for him. People didn't think he deserved a job. It ain't going to come from people the way that why did you take the job in Jacksonville? What do you mean, why I take the job in Jacksonville? Why didn't somebody else want the job in Jacksonville? All of these things, man, you gotta earn it. You got to earn it every single day from working. And see, that's why I like this team so much, is because they have bought in. And it's not just a mantra. It's not about Easy-E yelling Duval, but shout out to my man Easy-E. It's not about acting like you're a part of the culture of the city. It's about actually going out there and embodying who the city is, because you're working and you're working and you're working. Just like our fans, man. Our fans haven't had a lot to cheer about in the last couple of decades. But guess what? They have outfanned a whole bunch of people that have a whole bunch more to be cheering about. You know why? Because it's just what we're supposed to do. Work. Get out there, cheer your team on, get angry, talk crap to podcast people on social media like people do me. I never take it personal. Well, sometimes I do, but you know what I mean. But when you have a chance and things start new, get back to it. This is why I wanted everything cleaned out. This is why I wanted some alignment, because I knew at some point this is what we were going to get. And they still have to do it every single day. They got to keep working, man, because if they don't, guess what will happen? The fourth quarter against Houston will happen. You can't stop. There's an ongoing fluid process to continue to get better. But it takes honest coaches, leaders of men, to be able to get the stars aligned, get the role players, or as I call them, role stars or role superstars. You never know when your moment is going to come. You always got to be ready, man, and be prepared. It could be because of injury. It just could be because they just ticked off the dude right there. Yeah, he got the yips right now. We got to get him out. We need somebody to go in there and play, because we have to win. And when winning becomes the biggest thing, it means more than your draft status. It means more than how much money you signed in free agency. If you don't believe me, ask Diami Brown. It does not matter. You actually have to go out and be able to help this team. We'll fix you when we can. But right now, we need a win. And you can't help us as much as this other dude can. All of it, man. The accountability, the communication, everything is really contributed to the stars and the role players aligning together. And right now, the Jags are 9-4, and this fan base is greedy, and they should be. I'm going to tell you about that playoff picture tomorrow. I just saw something that said the Jaguars are 86%, have an 86% chance to make the playoffs. Good. We want it to be 99% a chance to make the playoffs. So the only way you're going to do that, first you got to beat the Jets. You get to 10-4, and then I got a doozy for you next week, because I think they're going to go 11-4. But we ain't going to get too ahead of the game. We're going to stick here and go one at a time with the Jets. So tomorrow I'll take a look at the playoff picture, tell you who's going to play who's going to play what, give you all the scenarios, and find out where the Jaguars sit in the pantheon of all of that stuff. We'll get to it tomorrow, but today, thank you again for watching or listening to the Locked On Jaguars podcast. You are never taken for granted. 29 minutes and 10 seconds. That's what you got. We'll see you next time here on Locked On Jaguars.